Welcome to Mi Gente on Air on 100.5 and 790 News Radio WSGW and online WSGW.com. Now, here is your host, Larry Rodarte.
Cierra esa boquita, calladita se ve más bonita.
Hello, welcome everybody to Mi Gente on Air. Thank you for being with me here today. I'm your host, Larry Rodarte, and man, it's been a hot week, hasn't it? This July, end of June, I am boiling up at home. My air condition doesn't seem to get as cold as it has in the past because it can't keep up with the intense humidity and heat. I don't know how individuals in the hot states like Texas, Arizona, Florida, how they can take this type of weather, because I guess I'm Michigan born and I prefer the cooler weather. Not the cold, but the cooler weather. And so here we are on the cusp of celebrating 250 years as a country in the United States of America. Tomorrow is the 4th of July, so as you hear this program on radio, the 4th will already have passed and we will have celebrated the 250th year of when our country was founded, and that's quite a feat. And I can tell you something, and I'm here in my studio with my producer, Matthew Lester, who is in his 20s.
Hello.
Very young, doesn't remember the bicentennial like I do in 1976. But Matthew, tell me and my listeners, what do you feel about America celebrating 250 years?
Well, first off, I come from a military family, so I'm going to get that out there. I have lots of family members who served. So usually when it comes to the 4th, my friends and I, we go all out. So we get a lot of fireworks, we throw like a barbecue party. And yeah, let's see here. This year, my one buddy probably spent about $400 to $500. His boss spent almost $3,000.
Wow.
Yeah, we're going to have a lot of fireworks this year. I don't know. It's just always been a big holiday in my family. We always get fireworks. We always have a big cookout. I'm not really sure what else to say. It's always been big in our family. What about you?
Yeah, I don't particularly like the fireworks myself. I mean, I like the ones that the city in Saginaw shoot off, and I did get to see the ones in Bay City last night. I was in Bay City at the Carnival and the celebration there. They do a wonderful job. It's beautiful. By the river and the carnival, and just be prepared to spend money, because everything has gone up, even in the carnival. Like a thing of lemonade is, I think it's about $10, and I'm not trying to have anybody not go because of the expense, because I mean it's a once a year thing, and it's a nice thing to. But when you got a bunch of kids, just be forewarned, have them share those lemonades and French fries, because it's quite costly. But as far as like those that you and your friends are buying, Matthew, oh my God, I've never heard that before, that somebody would put that amount of money towards fireworks. I have a cousin, James Rodarte. He puts a lot of money towards it, not quite that much. And I'm always like real leery of him, because he comes to my house. We celebrate it on Michigan Ave. And I'm always leery that it's so dangerous, with those fireworks. And I don't even want to be around them when they shoot them off. I tell them to go step away, like farther away from the house and everything, and keep the kids at bay and everything. Because one time at a family function, probably about 10 years ago, James had those rocket ones that go up, multiple ones, and they were like in a box, I remember, and he lit one. And the box fell, and it fell towards all of us, my whole family. We were in the garage, sitting in the garage and in front of the garage, and it was like a battle zone. And I'm not lying. Those things were shooting off like crazy. Everybody scattered. Some were hit. Some had holes in their clothing from the burns. It seemed like one of them went around the house and was chasing one of my cousins. I can still see her in my memory. I had to hover over my Aunt Angie. I had to hover her because she couldn't get up fast enough, and nobody else was helping her. it was a disaster. Kids were under the tables trying to get away from these fireworks. I mean, the whole box went off, and I know people have seen on Facebook, on social media or whatever, where there was a video where something similar like that happened, and it just like aflamed the whole area where everybody was sitting at somebody's party, and it just brings back that memory, and I think that's part of the reason why I do not like those types of fireworks, within the yards and that. But it sounds like you guys are going to have a great time. There's a lot of people that do enjoy celebrating that way with fireworks and all. Just be careful. That's all I can say is just be careful. I have a friend, an individual who he lost his arm because of those fireworks as well, and it's terrible to see that. But he recovered and all. But I would rather just sit and watch the big ones that are in the sky over the river. And Saginaw does a great job. Saginaw has always done a great job. I'm gonna miss seeing them from the island, Ojibwe Island. I had my food truck out there 2 years in a row, and it was really nice because we were able to sell patitos on the truck, and then everybody was around just enjoying the fireworks. But did you have a comment, Matt?
Yeah, so one of my biggest memories as a kid growing up regarding the 4th was my mom always used to take us to some of the bridges to watch the fireworks over the river.
Oh,
so
yeah.
I'm not exactly sure which one because it really changed every year, but we'd bring a couple chairs, and we'd park on the sidewalk right on the bridges, and oh yeah.
Yeah, and I'm talking, I remember going way back in the 70s with my whole family, and cousins and all. We would sit at Rose, I think it's, where they do the sledding at Hoyt Park, and we would watch them from there and all. I do remember being on the Holland Street Bridge one year. This is probably 25 years ago, maybe more, where one of them went off, that they were shooting up in the sky, and it went pretty close to where we all were, where the people were. And what happened was my whole world went white. Like everything around me went white. There was smoke everywhere. There was sparks. But in the aftermath, everybody was just stunned. Like nobody even had a chance to scream, it seemed like, because it was that impactful. And I thought, what just happened? And then afterwards, you heard the roar, but it seemed like it was in slow motion. It seemed like, before anybody even screamed, or it was like 15, 20 seconds went by because we were all stunned by the impact of that firework going off in the sky right above us. So just be careful. That's all I can say. And I know everybody has experienced something similar, and we're really blessed as a country, as a people, to be celebrating 250 years, even though it's very small, minute time when you compare it to many of the European cities, like in Italy and Sicily, where I was at this time last year. And so it's 250 years since the signing of the Declaration of Independence and all. And I can honestly tell you that the bicentennial, when we celebrated that in 1976, 50 years ago, it seemed like it was a more joyous time, obviously, in the mid-'70s. And Jimmy Carter was president, I remember. And it just seemed like there was much more of a celebration as a nation together. There were 50-cent coins that had the bicentennial emblem on the back side. And there were flags, I remember, celebrating 200 years. So, I don't want to get too political or whatever, but we are much more polarized today than we were 50 years ago as a nation. And it just seemed like, everybody was so joyous in the 200th year, wearing the clothes of the 70s, the music of the 70s, that great rock music that was happening at that time, I remember. And, it was just a real joyful time. And I can't believe the time span of 50 years has gone since then. To anybody who's out there who's young, take a moment, take the moment in that you're in, and just kind of remember, because I remember I did that, and it goes by in a flash. Before you know it, 50 years have gone by. If you're blessed, if you're lucky, And that's the way I'm feeling today as we celebrate 250 years tomorrow, the 4th of July. So for everybody out there, it's going to be a special one. It's going to be really nice to celebrate the 4th of July, celebrate with your family and your friends, and the fireworks and good food, and just enjoy the moment for whatever's going on in the country or whatever. Realize that we are at a mark where, despite everything that's gone on recently, or say in the last 250 years, because there's been wars, there's been famines, there's been all kinds of things as a nation. The United States has survived. We have survived our democracy for 250 years, and although it is being threatened, more so than I've ever seen, I think we will prevail into the democratic state that we have always been, because that's what really, truly makes us a great nation. The freedoms that we do have. And if you've traveled anywhere to any other countries, and you may see a difference, the freedoms that we have as United States citizens don't necessarily, they're not necessarily over in these other countries. And I've seen it with my own eyes. And so I feel blessed. I feel really thankful to be an American in these times. I may not always express it here on this show. I may be upset about something that goes on with this current administration, but I'm always very proud to say I am American, and I'm very proud and happy that this country has afforded my family the greatness of the American dream, and it truly has. Especially, when I look back at my father and his brother Manuel and Valeriano Rodarte, and how successful they were as Rodarte builders in this community of Saginaw and throughout the state, and all the homes they built. That truly is the American dream, to have come from Uvalde, Texas, and migrated and were migrant workers with second and third grade educations, and to go on and have the success that they did, to provide the lifestyle for their family that we did have. That is the American dream. And so I'm so proud of that, and I'm proud to be an American. What's that song, Matthew? And I'm proud to be.
I cannot tell you. I know which one you're talking about, but the name of it, I'm not sure.
Lee Greenwood's song, and sometimes it's really nice to watch the fireworks in Saginaw by the river. I live by the river, so we can see them right from my backyard. And to play, I think WSGW, WSAN. I'm not supposed to say other stations on the radio, but to play music, patriotic music when those fireworks are going off is really special. And last night, like I said, I went to Bay City. They are doing fireworks tonight and Saturday, and I think Sunday too. They do it like the whole shebang, 4 days when the carnival's out there. And it was really nice out there last night in Bay City to see like one of the big barges, ships going by, in the bridge opening up so that that barge could go through, and just seeing the Ferris wheel and the other rides that the kids that I were with, they were too afraid to go on, but it was just nice to see all that despite the heat that was still happening because it was still warm out. And it's nice to be able to see all that, what is happening in Bay City, with Uptown and all. And it just was a real nice environment to celebrate. So I would encourage anybody to go to Bay City and check out the carnival, check out the different rides, the lemonade, the French fries with vinegar, all that good stuff that when you go to those carnival settings that you will experience. And then come back to Saginaw and watch on the 4th tomorrow the big fireworks that are happening. And kudos to those who actually raise enough money to put those fireworks on in Saginaw.
Now let me ask you this, because I think I've only been to Bay City's fireworks once. Which one do you like more? And this might cause a little controversy: Saginaw's fireworks or Bay City's fireworks?
Wow, that's a tough one. Bay City, they break theirs up. They don't do it all just in one day like Saginaw. So they actually break it up, and they're not going to have I don't think a show the way Saginaw really puts their guns out there. And man, last year in Saginaw, it was really amazing. I was really blown away by it. I was watching from the food truck, and I was just like, wow, they put on a nice show that shoots up into the sky, but then they also do the by the bridge there on Holland Street, where they have like a waterfall type of fireworks and all, and it's really nice, and it's nice to see the community all come out, all walks come out, and celebrate this milestone of our country. But not only our milestone of our country, but the city of Saginaw, and I'm sure it's the same way in every city, and especially even in Bay City. But like in Saginaw, there seems to be that everybody's kind of forgetting their differences and their problems, and they're coming out to celebrate the beauty of the Saginaw fireworks. That's how I see it, and I just see all walks coming through. And like this year, it might be different for me because I'm not going to be working on a food truck. And oh my God, last year was hot too, I remember. And I'm over there selling patitos, and I don't think people buy fried foods as much when it's super hot like that. It was up in the 90s, it was humid, and so it was a little difficult. And I think it's going to be that way this year as well for the food vendors that are going to be out there. It's going to be hot. So make sure you hydrate yourselves with a little extra, water or what have you. Make sure you have electrolytes because this heat is intense. I don't know, Matthew. What do you think? Have you seen where it's been this many days this hot?
Not exactly. I definitely know what you're talking about because I've been working outside a lot this week, so I'm sweating my behind off. But yeah, I don't really remember it being this hot, this consistent like this.
Yeah, I don't either, and that's what the only time I remember it being hot like this is in Galveston, Texas, when I would stay with my aunt over there and my cousins, and it was this hot and muggy by the ocean. But like, man, Saginaw's going through something because I just don't remember it being this many days. I could be wrong, but we need a cooling down, don't we? We definitely need the cooler weather, and I think Saturday or Sunday, it's going to only be 90. And that's a cool down for us, right?
Yeah, I always say Mother Nature has to turn the AC on.
Definitely. And I hope that everybody's doing well out there and ready to celebrate the 4th of July, the 250 years, as we say. And that's really something to know that 250 years, it seems like a long time for us in our lifetime, especially even me, who I remember 50 years ago. But like I say, I remember being in Syracuse, Sicily, last year, and they're talking like you're talking 2,700 years of a city there, and that's crazy to me that there's that much history and artifacts even over there and ruins, and here America's only 250 years old. So we got a long way to go, and I hope that in the future our democracy continues, and I'm sure that it's going to be a beautiful democracy for many, many years to come, and that is the hope, and that's why we celebrate also the ability to be able to vote, to have the voice to vote, and to make sure our democracy continues, everybody. And that will be happening in November. We even have some primaries coming up next month already in August, and so get out and vote. Make sure you encourage your young people to exercise their right to vote, their freedom to vote. Make sure they're knowledgeable about issues if they can. But it's important. It's important as we head into the latter part of this year, especially in November for the midterms, and that everybody recognizes the idea that as a democracy, it's the voice. It's made up of the people, not one individual, not a group of individuals, but the people of the United States of America is what can really make the difference in this democracy as we celebrate this 250th year. So that's my spiel on the 4th of July. What is it that everybody does? If anybody has a comment, put it in the chat room. What is it that everybody's planning for their 4th of July celebration that may be unique this year as we celebrate 250 years? It could be simply the way that you are going to eat a special salad for the 250th, or it could be the way you grill your meat. It could be a number of different things, but it's a beautiful tradition as Americans that we do have, and it's a special time that we are living in to celebrate the 250 years of America. So there you have it, and we're going to go into commercial, and we're going to come back, and we're going to talk more here on Mi Gente on Air.
Rocket Grab Plus.
This is Mi Gente on Air on WSGW.
Welcome back. Welcome back. I am your host, Larry Rodarte, and I am here in the Conocer Studios with WSGW on the program Mi Gente on Air. It's always a pleasure to be here. And we were talking about the 4th of July and 250 years of celebrating our nation. And I want to talk a little bit about some of the events that are happening in the community. One in particular is a concert that's happening July 12th. It's a concert that is going to be celebrating the 60 years of 96 years. And we've talked about it on my show before. And I've been talking with Question Mark. I've been talking with Bobby Valderrama. Those that were way back in starting the group that went on to have a million seller, a number one hit in October of 1966. 60 years ago. Can you imagine? And it's really surprising when you hear their story because every time I talk to Question Mark, there's always something new that I learn of how they started and all. And one of the things that I've been posting some videos on my personal page on Facebook, what I didn't know was that Bobby Valderrama had said that he was 12 years old when they started the band in 1962. 1962, Matthew, can you imagine? 62. That's like 60, almost 65 years ago. And these guys were, they were young, very young teenagers. 12 isn't even a teen yet. So they were kids, and that's part of the reason why 60 years later, they're able to celebrate this milestone because they were so young at the time. And I don't know of too many bands in the history of rock and roll that can actually say that they're still around 60 years later. And in memory of the great Eddie Serrato, who was the drummer for Question Mark of the Mysterians, he was the second drummer. His brother-in-law, Robert Martinez, was the first drummer. So the actual original members, which included Larry Borjas, Bobby Valderrama, and Roberto Martinez, those are the three that started the band way back in 62, and then Question Mark came into the band within the couple months after they started, and they recorded that number one selling hit in 1966, which is the official rock and roll song of Bay City, Michigan. Believe it or not. Did you know that, Matthew?
I did not.
Come on, Matt. You knew that. How about, okay, who's the most famous person out of Bay City, Michigan?
Was it Madonna?
Yes.
Okay, I got that one
you
right.
got that one right. And Madonna, here she is, 68 years old. She'll be 68 in August 16th. She just put out a new CD, a new album that is already number one on the charts. They say it's one of her best that she's actually put out in a career that has spanned 45 years, believe it or not. And I know she gets a lot of flack, and there's the ageism of, that she shouldn't be doing what she's doing because she's too old now. But, man, I got to give her credit. She's always reinvented herself. She's always come out with, new good music. And Everybody Dance, which is just one right up the dance charts, of course, is a really good song, actually, believe it or not. And she has a great video along with that. She's been the master of entertainment in terms of utilizing videos. Of course, she was one of the MTV VHS darlings, if you will. But she utilized that as well as background singers to change the course of how presentations were made by groups when they performed live on stage. And so this is a woman that is from Bay City, Michigan. They got a big mural of her face over there in downtown Bay City. If you haven't seen it, drive by over there by, it's right in the old town of downtown by the library. And it's on one of the side streets there. But I hear every once in a while she gets back to Bay City because that's where her mom and grandma are buried in the city. There's also another mural down the road, and it's of ? And the Mysterians. And it's a nice little mural as well. And that is because, like we said, the official rock and roll song of Bay City is 96 Tears. And they recorded that song on Raymond Street in Bay City in Art Shield Studios at the time. It's no longer a studio, but a home where somebody lives. And I remember going 30 years ago. 30 years ago, I went with the band because they were going to record again their little segment for WNEM TV5. And I have footage of that time. And I can't believe 30 years have passed since then as well. And I couldn't believe that ? Could actually remember the place where the rest of the guys, they didn't know where it was. They couldn't remember. Even Frank Rodriguez, who actually lived in Bay City at the time when it was recorded, and ? Actually remembered it. When I've talked to ? recently, and I'm talking just yesterday, I'm really amazed at the memory that he has of this time period. We were talking about the early '60s and some of the things that took place with the band, but also Neil Bogart and Lillian Gonzalez, these people who were part of the genesis of bringing forth this hit. And sometimes it's not always favorable, but the discussion in terms of how it all went down. But I think that so many of those things that took place had to happen in order to bring that hit to the number one spot in America. And it's an edgy song that has lasted the test of time. And when we're all gone, I was just telling Q this yesterday, when we're all gone, that hit is going to continue to inspire generations of musicians, of listeners, of music, and 96 Tears is going to go on. It's quite a masterpiece of a song. And why I say that is because when I talk with Q, I call him Q, I'm sorry, ? He said that it was like a one take. It was a one take in the studio because Lillian Gonzalez of Pagogo, the label, had said, I need you to record a song. They needed a song that they were going to be putting out, that they were under contract for. And that's what the guys came up with. And it's really amazing because the oldest was 21 and the youngest, I think, was 13. And you had these young men who, were the children of migrant workers, of immigrants, and they were here in the Bay and the Saginaw area. And, when you're young like that, you don't want to really listen to the music of your parents or grandparents. You want to do your own thing. And this was, we're talking at the time when the Beatles, came to America and the music revolution happened in the 60s, that it would happen. So it's really amazing to me to know the story. I have tapes, I've got pictures, I got footage, because I've been friends with the band for 30 years now. Went to New York City with them when they performed at Central Park, and that was in 1999. It was incredible to see and witness that, as I acted as a roadie for them, was on the stage, and to see the crowds that I saw there in New York City at Central Park for them was pretty amazing. And I really congratulate the band that has endured for 60 years to be able to witness that they will be celebrating 60 years of 96 Tears. It was recorded in April 14th, 1966. And so it's already been more than 60 years, believe it or not. But it's in October of 2026 that it will be 60 years that it hit number one. But the story's phenomenal. It really is, in that, how lucky we are as citizens of Saginaw, or of the Great Lakes Bay region, that so close to so many of us, we have had a connection to this band who's considered the pioneers of punk rock music, believe it or not. And what I mean by that is, and especially within the Latino community, I can remember being very young, and it seemed that everybody, like I say, had a connection in some way. I remember being on Perkins Street and turning from my Aunt Della's house on Hosmer, and they would always say, "Oh, that's where Question Mark and the Mysterians practice." Everybody would say that they either knew somebody, or they practiced in my parents' garage, or they started in the basement of my great grandfather. No, I'm exaggerating there, but there always seemed to be some type of connection, because we as a community, meaning the Latinos, they were part of us. The 5 members of Question Mark and the Mysterians, they were part of the Latino community of Saginaw, believe it or not. And Question Mark has told me, and I knew this before, but he reminded me yesterday that he actually started dancing very young at the Unión Cívica Mexicana. They asked him to dance the Jarabe Tapatio, believe it or not. Question Mark told me that yesterday. And so there's really some great history within the story of these 5 young men. Frank Lugo, there's so many Lugos around, and that's a huge family. And he was part of this, as well as Eddie Serrato, as well as Frank Rodriguez, like I said, from Bay City, as well as Robert Martinez, Larry Borjas. I mean, these were the individuals that rode that wave of hitting big with a musical song that went number one and was on American Bandstand performing Where the Action Is. They had countless interviews, and they had an album, that is considered a classic now, and everybody remembers that famous picture from Greenwich Village in New York City of them by the river there, and that album went, number one too. It was a huge a huge point in their young lives that started with their careers, that they've been able to play that song for the last 60 years. I saw them perform with Ronnie Spector as well a few years back, the late Ronnie Spector, who was part of the Ronettes. And so that song, 96 Tears, written by this band, by Question Mark, was performed it was covered by Aretha Franklin and so many other musical groups. I think there's at least 20 covers of 96 Tears. And I've even heard where Question Mark sings it in Spanish. There's a version of that. So that's all pretty neat. And that's going to be happening July 12th at Winona Park in Bay City from 3 to 6 p.m. The guys are going to be there playing a few songs, and Larry McCrae is also going to be headlining out there. And if you have never been out there to Bay City at Winona Park, it's a pretty neat facility to have a concert, especially right there by the river. There was a rock group that was singing Led Zeppelin the other night when I was there. Was it Led Zeppelin or somebody else? But it's really nice to see that facility there, that is you can hear the music going on while you're at the carnival and all. Question Mark and the Mysterians from Saginaw, right? Madonna from Bay City, Stevie Wonder from Saginaw. Those are the ones that have made it huge, and they have been a huge part of American rock and roll history. And the other one, Greta Van Fleet, from Frankenmuth, Michigan, also huge in what they have done and accomplished. And I love their music. I love You're the One. If you haven't heard that song, it's called You're the One by Greta Van Fleet. And the lady who the band was named after, they took her name and they became Greta Van Fleet, but her name was Gretna Van Fleet from Bay City, from Frankenmuth. She just recently passed in the last month, but she was okay with that, with them taking her name, as somebody had heard it, thought it would be a cool rock and roll band name, and she was okay with it, even though their music wasn't her cup of tea, and she was musically inclined as well. But so kudos to her memory, Gretna Van Fleet. And I hear that the band is taking a hiatus at this point after a decade of touring. And Josh, the lead singer, he had busted an eardrum or something. He sings at such a high octave that I can see that happening. But it is really neat to know that they're from Frankenmuth, Michigan, and they are part of the lineup of individual entertainers from this area that have made it really big in the world. And Stevie Wonder, of course, from Saginaw, Michigan as well. Great genius, musical genius. Madonna, I don't care what anybody says, you got to give her props. I saw her in concert in 2024 at Little Caesars, and man, I couldn't believe that she was able to do all that she did in that time period. It never stopped. Hit after hit, soundtrack of our lives in the 80s and the 90s. And believe it or not, on July the 2nd, 2026, she releases another album, and it shoots #1, and it is really good. I've listened to it. Check it out on Spotify, and man, she makes you dance, Get into the groove. Way back in 1986, I remember that one from Suddenly Susan movie. Man, me and my friends, we used to like to dance to that. And so many other hits from Madonna, Holiday and Borderline, all those songs. And to see her actually performing as well in Live Aid. How many remember that? 1985 Live Aid, the fundraiser that they did for to feed the world with Gildoff. I can't remember his name now, but man, that was already 40 years ago. So time is a fleeting. And Matthew, I wonder how a young man like you, what do you have to say about these local groups of individuals from our area that are making it, that have made it big or making it big in the world?
Well, I was about to ask you a similar question. Out of all the celebrities that are from the Great Lakes Bay region, which one is your favorite?
You mean musically or just celebrities in general?
Just in general, from all the athletes, musicians, artists, stuff like that. Which one is your personal favorite?
Well, gosh, I've never been thrown that question, so good question. I would have to probably say question mark, my friend. People do not really understand the enigma that he is, the genius of who he has been, actually. The music, they sometimes refer to the band as a one-hit wonder. They've had a number of other hits. Can't Get Enough of You, Baby, Do Something to Me, Cherry July. I mean, I could just go on with their songs. They're not given the credit that they are due, at the cusp of the evolution of rock and roll. And it was because they had some difficult management, and they had people that were not looking out for their best interests as minors, and so but the genius of them, he was a symbol before Prince was a symbol. Remember when Prince became a symbol? Well, question mark was a symbol way before him, and that's just trivia, right? But to come up with a song like 96 Tears the way that they did, and the story behind it, and it had to take somebody who was musically inclined, that something was going on in his head for a number of years, to see the fruition of that song. And if you hear him talk about it, it's pretty amazing. But sports-wise, Serena Williams, I really respect her, as an individual who is disciplined, who stands for great things, and love her. And of course Stevie Wonder. I mean, I like them all because they represent us well. Especially even the athletes. Now, Draymond Green, I've seen some things too. That I was real proud about when he said that He loved, his favorite food was the taco bread from Saginaw, Michigan, which was the Vargas tortillas. I remember that interview. So they remember where they're from, and it's a nice thing to see that they have that connection still to the Great Lakes Bay region. I don't see it so much with Stevie Wonder. He was just a baby when he was born here and all. But I know he did come back and play in Saginaw at one time at Ojibwe Island. But I don't see that, like I do some of the other Madonna. She's not afraid to say that she was born in Bay City, Michigan, even though she called it a little stinky town. I get what she meant by that. She, if you go and drive through Bay City at any given time during, especially the summer months when those beets are being harvested, it is stinky. Sugar beets are stinky. But she has, really made an impact on the world. I remember an interview that she had with Dick Clark. He asked her at that time something about what do you want to do or accomplish, with your career, your singing? She said, I want to rule the world. That was her answer way back when she was young, in her 20s. She wanted to rule the world. And does she not? Does she not rule the world in a sense, in terms of musically? To be having this span of a 45-year career, almost 5 decades now. And just started out as a dancer. And just like Question Mark, I started out as a dancer and went on to do some great things. And so kudos to them and to everybody who listens to their music and who has been influenced. So I thank you for being with me here today as we talk about Question Mark, the Mysterians, and some of the local groups here. This is just from my own knowledge, my own opinion. And I thank you for listening about the 250th anniversary of America. We are celebrating a great milestone as a country, and we will continue to be a democratic state. I know we will. I know we have it in our hearts of hearts, and we will continue to be the great nation that stands for liberty and freedom. And all I can envision today as I'm doing this show is the Statue of Liberty, and what that represented. So thank you, everybody. Enjoy your 4th of July weekend. I hope, as those that are listening, I hope you did already, because when you hear this, it will have already passed. But know that the 4th of July stands for something, and we are a great nation no matter what. And I'm proud to be an American. So happy 4th of July, everybody. We'll see you next week here on Mi Gente on Air.
4.99%